Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your host, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Lee Sanders here. You guys are checking out an all-new The RCWR Show for this Monday night of September 4th, 2023. Can you guys believe it? September, here we are. Man, 2023 has been going by so fast. It's not even funny, man, because I mean, when you really stop and think about it, pretty soon, and it's going to go wham, 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 wham. We're going to have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Veterans Day, Christmas, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, all within the span of weeks from one another. This is that fourth quarter of the holiday season. For a lot of folks, they look at September as the start of that, as the start of the holiday season officially, and as the end of 2023, because before you know it, we're going to be done with this calendar year. My God, it's been a fast one. Hope you guys have had a fantastic weekend and that you were able to enjoy your Labor Day holiday. Of course, if you unfortunately had to work, hey, just know I definitely appreciate you. I know how it is to work on the holidays. Trust me, I know how it is. You're checking out episode number 1047. WWE RAW is now officially in the books. It's over and done with. We'll talk about that in just a hot second. Hey, I do want to extend my deepest thoughts and condolences to the fans of the pop rock band Smash Mouth, as apparently, and look, full transparency, because I love being honest with you guys. I do my best to keep it 100 with you all and everything. I was never a fan of Smash Mouth and their style of music. They came in at a very great time in music culture, you know, during that particular time period and everything, where they were able to just really skyrocket and all that. But I had always, during that time when they were running around, I always gravitated towards the heavier rock. I always gravitated towards the metal. I was definitely messing around with my rap music and hip hop back then, but I was never really a fan. I'm not even gonna say really. I was never a fan of Smash Mouth. When their songs would come on, I would flip the channel. I changed it down. If I saw a music video of theirs come on, I desperately reached for the remote, and if I couldn't find a remote, I used to just hit the power off on the TV. I know that there are many others that operated this way. They probably just won't jump out there and say it because they don't want to face any type of backlash and all that. But I think it's so important to be very transparent, so as long as you're being respectful about it and everything. And I bring up Smash Mouth because their former lead singer and founder of the band, Steve Harwell, he passed away at the age of 56. And it was crazy because I remember over the weekend, I was at work and I just came across some article and I'm going, what's this about? Because something was happening where Smash Mouth was trending on X, formerly known as Twitter. And I'm going, what's going on with this? I click on it and I see something about Smash Mouth and I'm going, oh, what the hell? And then I see the news about freaking Steve and I'm going, whoa, what's going on here? And the report at that time was he had entered hospice. And for your longtime listeners and all that, you guys know that, especially you younger listeners out there, you all know by now that as far as hospice goes, once you have, or your family has made the arrangements for you to go into hospice care, there is no coming out of that. There is no, oh my God, it's a miracle. They're all of a sudden, they're better, and now they're out of hospice. No, once you are put in hospice care, some type of a hospice facility, or you opt in to get hospice care at your place of residence and you just want to expire at home and all that, once you've been dubbed, okay, you now need to go into hospice care, that's it. It's just a matter of days, maybe a week or two. And it's interesting because the report that came out over the weekend, at that time at least, it said that Steve Harwell was, I'm trying to phrase it just right, but I'm just going to throw it out there. The news article that I had came across said that he was most likely to pass within the next week or so. So that kind of gave you the impression that, okay, so about a week, maybe 2 weeks or something like that. But yeah, a lot that was going on there and everything. Now, as far as what he was diagnosed with and all that led to his death, passing, liver failure. He had a lot that was going on with the liver, and 56, y'all definitely need to admit, that's definitely pretty young. That is pretty young for 56. So that is very unfortunate. I know that there are a lot of Smash Mouth fans that are out there. Sincerely, my deepest thoughts, condolences to not just you, the fans, but definitely to the man's friends, family, and colleagues. That is a rough one. I'm telling you, man, it's been a rough couple of weeks for the entertainment world. We've been losing some heavy hitters left and right and everything. So, look, we're fresh off the heels of AEW's all-out pay-per-view event that was at Chicago. And this was just fresh off the heels of what all had came about with CM Punk being fired by there I go again with the slip. I don't know why I'm thinking WWE all of a sudden. I don't know. It's just, but if you really stop and think about it, he was fired by WWE a couple of years ago and all that, or many years ago. But now this rodeo, he's been fired by AEW. Shout out to you guys that were around on Saturday as I fired up the webcam and I gave my thoughts about the whole situation. I know there were many of you guys that reached out to me and you said, Lee, dog, oh my God, you freaking called it. You said it on Wednesday what they should do. I took you very, very lightly, man. I didn't think you knew what you were talking about, but my God, they did it. They did exactly what you said they were going to do, man. That's insane. And, I didn't like being right on that particular piece of news. If y'all didn't check out the breaking news piece that I did on Saturday, it is available on demand on the YouTube channel. You guys can also check it out for downloads wherever you get your podcasts and all that, because I made sure the audio version of that breaking news was available as well. And I know that just had the entire wrestling podcast community, the forums, everybody was just on fire that whole weekend and everything. I can't tell you, and it's still buzzing days later. People are still buzzing, people are still talking about it. And it's interesting because I remember I've been involved in this whole podcasting genre as of November, going on it'll be 12 years. But I can recall where I was and how the community was when CM Punk was let go by WWE. And then came the infamous Colt Cabana podcast. And that also lit us. That was just, that was just a whole nother, you would have had to have lived through it to experience it, because it was just wow, I mean, left and right, great hot takes after another and everything. And when the news had came down over the weekend that Punk was fired by AEW, once again, everybody commenting on this, and there's been some really good takes. I appreciate those that went out of their way to check out what I had to say and everything, and really listen to what I was saying and everything. It was interesting because on that Wednesday show, a lot of people, and I can tell who was actually going out of their way to listen, because a lot of people that were commenting on that Wednesday show, just the webcast version I'm talking about, they reacted negatively based on the thumbnail title, and they were lashing out that way. But had they actually taken the time to check out the content and really listen, not assume, but really listen, they would have found that, wow, this is actually somebody that's keeping it right down the middle here and is presenting all the sides here and what they're talking about and all of that. But it's unfortunate. I've seen so many great takes so far as what some of my friends and colleagues in the podcasting world have to say about the whole ordeal, and it's so interesting, this topic, because just when you think that, whether as a wrestling fan or you're some type of an insider, a legit insider, or you are just one of those type of people, you like to absorb as much information as possible, get as many perspectives as possible. Just when you think you know every single avenue to allegedly what all happened in this whole fiasco, there's always another new point of view. There's always another consider this that you got to add into the equation and everything. So it has been amazing in the community just to hear all the different takes that's out there and everything. I honestly have not heard one bad take yet. I've not. I've been on such a streak right now. I have not heard one bad take yet about the whole ordeal. I haven't even heard a take where it's just, you half-assed it. You didn't really go all the way in. Come on now. It's like, if you're going to go there, really go there. I haven't even heard a half-assed take yet. Which reminds me, by the way, I know I did the webcast audio piece, from Saturday and everything. But I did write up an editorial piece, and I actually had some of my friends and colleagues check it out before it would get published. And I was like, hey, I just want to make sure that, not just for accuracy, but if maybe there's something I need to scale back on, or if there's something I need to include, I want to make sure this comes off truly as, hey, he's not favoring this person or this person. He really is keeping it down the middle. And everybody that I had spoke with said, hey, this is good. It's ready to go. Go ahead, publish it. So I will, if you're staying connected to me on social media, you'll see when that article goes live and everything. But I've been told, because I had the editors check it out over at Full One Mania, and they were saying, this looks really good. We're going to do our best. If we can't schedule it sometime Monday, I was told in the evening, then basically it was going to go live first thing Tuesday morning and everything. So I'm definitely looking forward to that and everything, seeing what you guys have to say in regards to that piece. I think you guys will honestly appreciate that. But we had all this news with CM Punk overshadow what was honestly a really good week and weekend for AEW with the All In London event, and just his status, Punk's status being up in the air going into All Out, and Tony Khan pretty much getting in front of that and everything. And it could have been a case where mum is the word, let the fans sit on their hands, maybe that will increase ticket sales, but Tony Khan decided, you know what, at this point we need to go ahead, let the fans know what's going on. And I get it, especially from a business perspective where you're expecting for Punk to show up and you've purchased your tickets. Hey, the sooner the consumer knows what's going on, the quicker they can decide whether or not, even though card is subject to change, right? You're always told that when it comes to these wrestling shows, right? So on the one hand, you're kind of looking at how all that had panned out. Now, the next question becomes, well, what's going to happen there with that all-out pay-per-view? Betcha there's going to be a very hostile crowd. That is CM Punk territory and all that. There's just no way AEW is going to be able to function that whole night, not with plenty of verbal disruptions and everything. And on the contrary, because I actually did watch it. I had no intention of watching that pay-per-view initially, but once everything had went down with CM Punk, it took my wife and family off guard, because I actually was supposed to do something with them on Sunday. And I told him, I said, I'm going to check out this pay-per-view. Like, what? Like, but you promised? Like, I know. Like, but I want to check out this pay-per-view. I want to see for myself what's going to happen here. What's the crowd going to be like and everything? What's the matches going to be like? Most importantly, is the roster going to do their best to step their game up and everything? And you know what? Step their game up, they did. I thought that for the most part, all the matches that was on that card, I thought it was pretty good. I looked at that card, and I'll be straight up honest with you. I looked at that card, and I said, you know what? This comes off like a glorified indie house show. Maybe like an extended edition of Rampage, something along those lines and everything. But by the time I got out of it, I was nodding my head, and I said, okay, you know what? No, this was a fairly solid card. Surprisingly, really good card. Pretty solid pay-per-view overall. Out of the 13 matches that was part of All Out, I got to give it up for sure to Jon Moxley, Orange Cassidy. Even though they've been spamming the hell out of Orange Cassidy, I have one caveat, though, in regards to that match. And that's the fact that, okay, so wait a minute here. We're not going to use Orange Cassidy and the AEW Intercontinental Championship in a way where we're trying to establish somebody younger. We're going to try to put over a fresher face. We're not going to go in that direction. We're just going to have Jon Moxley be that guy. And the only thing that essentially makes sense to me is maybe now, going forward, at least when it comes to those collision shows, maybe Jon Moxley is going to be the new poster child and everything. He helped carry AEW during some turbulent times when it was needed the most. In that clutch moment, he needed to pass the ball. He was right there, say what you will, but Tony Khan has trusted that man time and time again. So you can't help but wonder if by the title being put on Moxley, okay, look, we're going to give Orange Cassidy a chance to go take some much needed rest and everything, enjoy a month, 2 or 3 off, but meantime, we're going to let Moxley, right? So it's going to be very interesting to see on AEW programming later this week what exactly is going to go down with that and everything. I pleasantly had found a nice surprise there in the Bullet Club Gold taking on Nick and Matt Jackson and FTR. I pleasantly found that to be pretty good. I was really expecting for the Young Bucks to get booed out of the building here and just cause such a disruption caused by the fans, but that did not happen whatsoever. Kenny Omega, he was another one I was expecting to maybe get, but he didn't. Takesha picking up a win on Omega. Did not see that coming. Loved it. Loved the match. Loved the finish. No issue with that whatsoever. That was pretty good. Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs. If there's any reason why you should check out this pay-per-view, that match alone, high marks to both of those guys. That was without a shadow of doubt. I said this in a Discord. I don't think I said it online, but for the record, that Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs, I thought it was the best singles match for both men respectfully to date since they've been a part of AEW. I loved it. And then to see Miro's wife, CJ Perry, woman formerly known as Lana, to see her pop up at the end and everything, I love that. I can't wait to see where that respected story arc goes and everything. But man, Powerhouse Hobbs, Miro, Chef's Kiss, that was freaking badass. Love that. Even Samoa Joe, Shane Taylor, short match, but I even had enjoyed that for what it was worth. Out of the whole card, I honestly would have to say, as far as weakest match of the entire card, to each its own. But I'm a big fan of Chris Statlander. However, I felt that her match with Ruby Soho, it really was not banging like that. I personally felt so. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being crap, 10 being awesome sauce. I felt that this was surprisingly, again, a really good card. I probably would have to give it based on everything I had saw, I would probably give it an 8. A respected 8. I can't go higher. I can't go lower. So you break that down as far as a grade letter scale. F, you flunked big time. A, yeah, you definitely passed. I'm definitely looking at a B. That's B as in boy. I don't see that going any higher, definitely no lower. I'm definitely willing to give that a grade letter B. So yeah, definitely check it out. Check it out when you guys get a chance. Congratulations to Christian Cage. Apparently he had revealed during the media scrum that he's inked a new deal with AEW. He was asked to comment about the status of his best friend Edge and if Edge just maybe coming to AEW and all that, and I loved how he successfully dodged that question. That was pretty good. Of course, the question was also brought up about CM Punk and the way his contract is set up. Is there some type of a non-compete clause? Tony Khan would not address that, and look, rightfully so and everything, right? Rightfully so. I'm trying to think what else had came from out of that media scrum. Jade Cargill's status was brought up. Tony Khan said he recently had not just only seen her, but was in communication with her, and that she's due back to AEW very shortly. I know there's a lot of you guys that definitely miss her. I'm a little bit sad that Sonny Kiss's contract has just quietly expired from AEW, and it looks as though that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate that when you really stop and think about it, Rampage is 1 hour, Dynamite is 2 hours, Collision is 2 hours as well. So we're talking 5 hours worth of programming, and then you got ROH. So that's basically 6 hours of programming, and we can't find anything for Sonny Kiss to do on a regular basis. And we're having an extremely difficult time putting Nyla Rose in regular rotation as well and everything. I'm not liking it. I gotta say, I'm not liking it. I'm not liking it one little bit, man. And trust me, I'm not the only one that's a little bit annoyed at the fact that they couldn't find anything there for Sonny Kiss. From all accounts, I have heard that she's really cool. She is really cool. She, he, they, but I've heard nothing but kind things said about Sonny Kiss. And, if Sonny Kiss is serious about continuing to stay involved in the wrestling business and all that, I'm sure things will work out for them, and, they'll definitely bounce back and everything. There's a reason why Tony Khan, AEW, had acquired their services and all that, and, now that there's this unique opportunity to go back out there on the free agency market, on the free market, and it's kind of time to remind people just who the hell you are and what makes you so unique, what makes you a badass in the ring and everything. So, but we got that. Trying to think if there was anything else that had came from the scrum that might have been a little bit noteworthy to talk about. Oh my God, I can't believe I almost forgot about American Dragon, Bryan Danielson taking on Ricky Starks. Strap match. Yeah, I can't believe I almost blanked out on that one. That one was definitely badass. I loved it. And then having Ricky the Dragon Steamboat on commentary and all that added a nice little touch to it as well. Was a little bit rocky on commentary, but once he started finding his footing, finding that right pace and everything. He pretty much was there and all that. He was a little bit long-winded with some of the things that he was talking about early on, and you had to have Excalibur and the crew try to reel him back in and everything. But once it was, okay, so we're doing it like this. Okay, all right, I got you. Yeah, and I mean, he just clicked very well with the commentators there and all that, for what it was worth. JR in rare form as well. I like that they had him out there for about I believe it was 3 matches. 4's pushing it, but I know for a fact he was out there for at least 3 matches. Thought that was very smart and how they utilized him. So mad props for that. So yeah, if you guys were a little bit on the fence about that all-out pay-per-view, you got a little bit of money to blow, I would definitely say go out of your way and check it out when you guys get a chance. Now, WWE RAW Labor Day edition. Normally it's become a tradition when it comes to certain editions of Raw, whether it's an MLK edition or, you go, okay, you know what, this is one of those episodes. I don't really need to trip over this. There's really nothing monumental that's going to come from this episode. It's going to be a half-assed episode, so you know what, I'm okay. I'll be all right. It is what it is. Well, no, remember, this was fresh off of the heels of the Payback pay-per-view event that was done, what was that, Saturday, right? If you missed my thoughts on the Payback pay-per-view, by the way, that's also available on demand and on the downloads, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Just search the RCWR Show. So you guys got to forgive me if I don't go into that whole spiel once again and everything. Liked how we kicked it off nice and strong with the newest addition to the Monday Night Raw roster in Jey Uso. Nice touch. And then who is essentially the very first one to welcome Jey Uso with open arms? None other than Sami Zayn, despite all that history. Despite everything that was going on there in the bloodline, Sami Zayn was the one to come out and let Jey Uso know straight up, yo, there's definitely a lot of people that don't like you. So as far as being on Raw, yeah, it's probably going to be real difficult for you to find some friends and everything, but you know what? Hey, for what it's worth, hey, you still got me. I mean, that pretty much was the message in a nutshell and everything, and that was a nice little nod and all that. Nice to see the bearing of the hatchet, right? That was kind of cool and all of that, for what it was worth. Then we've got our Tornado Tag match. Drew McIntyre, Matt Riddle, Mick Riddle, Lord have mercy, Mick Riddle, taking on the Viking Raiders. We saw Kofi Kingston in the final moments of this matchup tried to make his presence be felt in here. He connected with Trouble in Paradise inadvertently on Riddle. Viking Raiders took advantage of that. They pretty much got rid of Kofi by tossing Kofi in the Drew. Ragnarok on Riddle, get the 1-2-3 victory that way and everything. For the length of the match, this was okay. Nice pacing, never missed a beat. It's interesting because I like this continuing dynamic that's going on here between all 3 of these tag teams, and just the way post-match Drew McIntyre was looking at Riddle. He had this look on his face, and if you guys had watched Raw, you know what I'm talking about. He had this look on his face like he wanted to kick the living shit out of Riddle. I mean, that's the look that he had. He had such a disgust look on his face that you're going, Drew looks like he's about to kirk out just any minute. He looks like he's about to, you might want to stay clear. Now, cameras had caught up to Riddle McIntyre backstage a couple of segments later, and Drew was on the warpath. He was looking for Kofi, and eventually they ran into Kofi, and Kofi had apologized for what all had went down And Riddle accepted the apology. His whole thing was, hey, it's cool, man, accidents happen. But Drew, on the other hand, he's going, oh, it's so convenient that what had went down, a couple of weeks ago, when we had inadvertently, and it was legit an accident, we apologized to you, and wow, how convenient. We pretty much fast forward a week later or whatever, and we see what happened with you getting. So Kofi did not take too kindly to that, so I'm loving the continued hostility here that's in this mix, really between all of these teams. And Viking Raiders, they are just continuing to enjoy the spoils. They are continuing to, essentially, they're doing nothing more but capitalizing on the miscommunication that's going on between Riddle, McIntyre, right, and the New Day. I'm loving it. It's adding nice extra drama for what it was worth. So pretty good opener. We saw Seth frickin' Rollins, who was in the house. Adam Pearce questioning why the man was there, because after the hellacious match that he had at Payback, medically he had not been cleared to wrestle. Seth Rollins ain't trying to hear that noise. Just so happens Ricochet was there. Ricochet giving Rollins his props, but agreeing with Adam Pearce, he needs to try and take it easy. But hey, push come to shove, he's got an ally in him and everything. But Rollins wasn't trying to hear that. He wanted to go out there, take care of his business for what it was worth, and that business was essentially going out into the middle of the ring, calling out Shinsuke Nakamura, because Rollins wants to run it back. So in case you all had turned off Payback after the event was over and you went about your business, which it's understandable, apparently there was some WWE Digital.com exclusive stuff that went down where after the pay-per-view ended officially, Nakamura went on the warpath and he was beating the crap out of Seth Rollins backstage. So this is why we now have Rollins saying, Nakamura, get your ass out here. Let's go. So Nakamura comes out, standing at the top of the ramp. He ain't budging to come inside the ring and everything. Rollins pretty much says, okay, look, I beat you, that should have been the end of it and all that, but then you want to attack me from behind and everything. Once I get to the back, you were able to walk out of the arena. I wasn't, as I had to be wheeled out with help from my wife. He was in a wheelchair. That's what he said. He was in a wheelchair and he had to be taken out of the arena in a wheelchair with help from his wife and everything. So Rollins says straight up, look, I already know you're going to say yes. Let's go ahead. Let's run this back. Nakamura says no. Rollins is very, very confused, and he pretty much says, okay, you know what? If you ain't gonna bring it, then I'm just gonna bring the fight to you. And that's how that whole thing had went down. Rollins runs out there, gets in a couple of taps. I think Nakamura got in a little something in there as well, but eventually we saw Adam Pearce, Ricochet break it up. This pretty much led to Nakamura being put in a match against Ricochet. Ricochet picking up a win via DQ, as in the closing moments of that one, Ricochet had sent Nakamura into the barricades over by the timekeeper's area. Shin ended up kicking them, grabbing a chair, boom, and that was your DQ that way. I gotta say, I am continuing to love, this was another one of those short kind of matches and everything, but I'm loving the continued evolution of the Nakamura character. This is honestly what we should have been given of the Nakamura character from day one that he arrived on the main roster, and it just sucks so hard that now after all these years that the man has been involved in WWE, that okay, it took a couple of writers, all right? Let's admit that now. It took quite a handful of writers and WWE producers. It took the right type of mix to go, oh, this is easy. We can easily freaking, right? And I like this team that is helping really flush out the Nakamura character even more, because this crew that is at play, it's those little things. It's those little things. For example, having him talk in his native language, and you're doing the English subtitle and all that, something that I have been clamoring for years, as longtime listeners know, and everything. But also presenting, in this case, Nakamura, in a way where you're borrowing off of how the guy used to operate in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, check. Okay, let's borrow some stuff from manga, Japanese animation. Let's borrow some stuff from that, right? This whole team, when you just add it all up collectively, they are on top of their pop culture references and all that, and it's hitting pay dirt right now. This is the best sinister incarnation of Nakamura yet that is clicking extremely well, and I love it. I even loved how Nakamura was protected when he was at the top of the stage ramp and he's expected to say yes or no. I loved how he was continuing to talk in his native language, but it was very short. It was very short. He kept it very brief. And I thought that was very, very critical, because the last thing you want is to have Nakamura out there and, he's just going on and on speaking in his native tongue, and, that's the last thing that you want. So the way that they had played that off brilliantly by having Seth Rollins say, okay, I unfortunately, I don't speak your native language, but, it kind of sounds to me like you probably are ready to get down and everything. So let's go ahead and let's hammer this out already. I liked how all that had played out. WWE is finding the right groove with Nakamura. They need to stay on top of it. Don't falter. Don't overdo it and everything. But this current incarnation of Nakamura, I'm still a bit heartbroken that Nakamura did not become the World Heavyweight Champion. But if they keep this up with Nakamura at the pace that he's at right now and everything, if they keep this up, then I dare say that the very next premium live event that WWE is going to be doing, which is going to be, I know NXT's got the No Mercy event that's going to be coming up on September 30th, but it looks like for the main roster, it looks like Fastlane will be the next one, and that's going to be on October 7th, and then just a couple of weeks after that will be Survivor Series. That'll be on November 25th. They do this just right. Honestly, I think that at Fastlane, we could be looking at a new champion. I know there was some news that was put out recently where WWE is going to be going back, what is it? Is it India or Saudi Arabia? There's some event that's supposed to be popping up where Seth Rollins is supposed to appear. And a lot of people are looking at that and they're going, oh man, so automatically he's going to be champion at least until then. Remember, folks, the card is subject to change. So Nakamura could be champion whenever that overseas event pops up, but you could potentially still have Rollins wrestle. He just won't be the World Heavyweight Champion. But no, if they do not let up with this current incarnation of Nakamura, and just beautifully how they're able to continue to execute him creatively, I see no issue why before this year is out Nakamura doesn't win that championship. So we'll see definitely what happens with that. Keep you guys posted on that. Let me know what you guys think about that. Like, could you see Nakamura becoming champion before the year is out, or at this point you're thinking, nah, maybe first quarter of 2024 for sure? Sound off. Let me know what you guys think in regards to that. By the way, if you guys been enjoying yourselves so far, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that like button. When you do that, really helps spread the word about the content, and you help put more eyeballs on our content as well. Helps get it out there to a more wider audience. Also want to take this time out to recognize one of our sponsors. No long drawn out ad read. I know some of you guys be checking out other shows and they go through a whole 3-4 minute spill on a sponsor. No, mine's is pretty short and sweet. We've worked with these guys numerous times over the years, and it's always been awesome hearing great feedback from them, letting us know, hey, we actually saw some traction from you guys. I know there's a lot of you all out there that love your movies, and that's why I'm recommending justmovieposters.com. If you're trying to do your best to hook up that man cave or that basement, maybe that studio or your office space, and you are a certain fan of a particular movie, maybe you like the Star Wars or the Marvel stuff, or you're a Trek fan, or you're a gangster flick fan, whatever you can think of, justmovieposters.com. They have that and then some. They got these gigantic one sheet posters that is 27 by 40, okay, and then that's the biggest, but then it goes down in size. Maybe you also want to send some type of a movie poster postcard to somebody while you're getting ready to go on vacation, or you want to hook them up with something during the holiday season. They got your hookup for that as well. We've partnered up with them many times over the years, so I know for our longtime listeners, you definitely recognize the name, but definitely show them some love. JustMoviePosters.com. They are a proud sponsor of this very episode that you're checking out right now. Love those guys. Again, JustMoviePosters.com. Let's continue on with the talk of Raw. We're going to keep it short and sweet because there was a lot that we had got into within the past couple of days. Not really too much since last we were on the air. We'll finish up with the talk of Monday Night Raw. And I think there might have been one or two little news tidbits, other little news tidbits that I had wanted to share with you guys. Definitely get into some programming notes as well, but otherwise we'll pretty much be over and done with. All right, so we just got done talking about what all had went down there with New Day, Kofi Kingston, and Mick Riddle and all that. We also talked about what went down between Nakamura, Seth Rollins, the Ricochet match that Nakamura did with Ricochet and all that. Continuing on, we got yet another sad update in regards to the women's tag titles, as it was revealed in a segment that Piper Niven hasn't been medically cleared to wrestle. So as a result of that, she's out for a little bit. We see Chelsea Green is there, and Chelsea wondering what exactly is going on here. And she brings up the fact that, hey, social media, we've all said collectively, man, those women tag titles, they are cursed. They're as bad as whoever lands on the front cover of a Madden video game, right? We see how that's fared out over the years. But Adam Pearce, it kind of seems as though maybe he's getting ready to make some type of announcement that maybe he's going to strip Chelsea Green of the tag titles or what have you. And at the same time, she uses the opportunity to talk trash about homegirl Raquel Rodriguez. Turns out Chelsea thought Raquel had left the room. No, she was in there the whole time. This pretty much had made Adam Pearce just glee from ear to ear, just a big old grin, because singles match with those two girls. That match, for what it was worth, I thought, after what had went down with Raquel at the pay-per-view, I thought this was a nice match to give her for what it was worth. Let her still kind of have that mojo. Let her kind of get that swag back and everything, right? You may have been knocked down right here, but you can easily build back the momentum again. And, who knows, maybe you can challenge again, right? It was a squash match. This was nothing of a competitive match by the stretch, right? This was literally a 90-second match that was a straight up squash joint. So that's all that was, for what it's worth. Also, we find out from Raquel Rodriguez, she makes an announcement post-match, which is, as part of her conversation with Adam Pearce, next week she's going to be able to have a rematch with Rhea Ripley for the Women's Championship, but this time Dominic Mysterio is banned from ringside. Which brings us to the next point, which is Judgment Day. Judgment Day really are just clicking on all cylinders right now. And the topic was brought up of J.D. McDonough, or as I like to call him, the leader. Shout out if you know your comic books. Marvel, the Incredible Hulk, the main antagonist was the leader. So shout out if you know that, so you get the reference. They all bring up the idea of, hey, maybe, we're being a little bit too hard on JD. We should cut the man some slack, right down to the point. Maybe we should entertain the idea of having him be part of the stable. Obviously that kind of rubs some of the people the wrong way there, because they're not really trying to hear that, right? And I remember at one point, JD, as a peace offering, he actually brings a new Money in the Bank briefcase to present to Damian Priest. It's purple, so that compliments Damian Priest, because for the longest time, even right on up to now, we still see him push some variation of purple from time to time. So to have a purple briefcase, okay, that's badass. And then number two, it kind of had a whole new design. The font style of Money in the Bank, that logo and all that itself, text-wise, all that was still the same. It's just purple briefcase, but then they put a white text, black background kind of banner, Senior, and then Money in the Bank. Damian loved it. He popped. I definitely popped. I would not be too surprised if by the end of the week, early next week, that briefcase is made available on WWE Shop. I know there's a lot of you guys that like collecting that type of stuff. I'll keep you all posted. I usually poke my head from time to time on the WWE Shop, trying to see if there's some pretty good deals going on. I've been in a bobblehead phase as of late. It started with Better Call Saul, and now I'm toying around with the idea of starting up a wrestling bobblehead collection. I just don't know where to start. I was looking at some of the stuff that WWE had on their shop, and I'm going, maybe, we'll see. So I'll keep you guys posted. Don't worry. So, again, JD, whether or not this man was going to be allowed to be part of the Judgment Day, if there was going to be some strong discussion amongst the crew. Well, first things first, they needed to see how he did tonight in his match against Sami Zayn. And then maybe they could have some serious talks about that, for what it's worth. Well, JD going up against Sami Zayn, he actually got the job done. Believe it or not, he actually got the job done. Nice. It was another one of those matches from Sami Zayn. If you're a Sami Zayn fan and you're going, wow, Sami Zayn, this man can work with the best of them. This man can do his very best to try to help elevate somebody, try to help push them on the next level, for what it's worth. Now look, not for nothing. Dominic Mysterio, Dirty Dom, he was an X factor in all of this. And you got to remember, Dirty Dom was coached by Rhea. Rhea said, look, we need this to go really smoothly. Do whatever you got to do to make this happen now. Dirty Dom did cause a bit of a distraction that had helped JD get a roll up on Sami Zayn to pick up the win and everything. So now there's going to be some serious talk. Judgment Day celebrating. They run into Jey Uso. Dirty Dom actually goes up to him and tells him straight up, hey man, look, welcome to Raw. Know how you're feeling. Know what it's like to be part of a dysfunctional family. Know what it's like to be an outcast. I've been there. Look, a lot of people don't like you. I faced the same thing in my career here. Still continue to deal with the crap to this very day. Something you may want to consider is joining the Judgment Day. You know, we're not all about egos. It's not about one person. You know, it's a team effort. We all eat. Think about it, right? So I like this courting that's going on as Dom pretty much extending that olive branch and all that. So it's nice to see off the break, because most of us was a little bit curious when we found out the news about Jey Uso being part of Raw. Okay, how is this, you know, where are we going? So the fact that we're going to have him intertwined there with Judgment Day, it's a very smart move. It is a very, very smart move, especially from the standpoint of you can stretch this out so many weeks with Dom and everything. And just think about that sales pitch. Yo, man, everything that you had did over there for the Bloodline, at which tonight in their promo, Judgment Day did take a shot at the Bloodline. They see that the cracks in the foundation and all that, they see what's going on, they recognize that, and also put themselves over at the same time and everything. But just think about the story arc there with Jey Uso very hard being recruited by Judgment Day for all the contributions he made to the Bloodline, how he was an essential piece and keeping all of that together, right? Just the valuable information that the man possesses and how that can really play a pivotal role in Judgment Day as far as thriving for years to... I mean, it's a perfect storm. It's a perfect, right? So I can't wait to see how the continued courting goes about and everything. Even the interactions that Jey Uso may have with JD, I think that's going to be pretty good as well. So there's a lot that you got that's going on there, and ultimately, I see this being a case where, as far as allies go, Sammy will be in Jay's corner. I think Cody will definitely be in Jay's corner as well, right? So that's 3 right there. But remember, you got Dirty Dom, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, and JD. You know, there's 4, and I only mentioned 3. As far as who that 4th guy could be that could assist and everything, yeah, I'm just thinking about the roster. Honestly, if the trajectory of the guy continues for what it's worth, I know he was kind of doing this thing with Nakamura, but Ricochet is definitely an honorable mention as far as, or if you want to go in the Kevin Owens direction, you can definitely do that as well. I forgot who it was, but I remember from the Payback post show, somebody had mentioned the idea of DIY, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano reforming and going after the tag team champions in the Judgment Day. I don't think that was you guys. I think that might have been something I had read of a comment on a forum for the Payback post show. I can't recall right now, so forgive me. But, you know, I really am liking that idea. But for some weird reason, I'm picturing Tommaso and Owens maybe... I could be wrong. Maybe it's just a fan of me. I'm just picturing them locking it up for some weird reason. We'll see how it all pans out. Some other stuff from tonight's WWE Raw. I mean, we're just blazing through this right now. I think at this point we only got maybe 1 or 2 more matches to talk about. I know Miz had his Miz TV segment where he used it as an opportunity to take shots at John Cena, asking some hardball hitting questions. And the way he played with the fans was hilarious because, you know, he's saying, you know, let's bring out John Cena. And the way that they did the cameras, it literally was as if John Cena did come out and everything, slide into the ring, you know, was talking with the fans and all that, but there was no John Cena. And I loved hearing Miz say, wait, you guys can't see him? You can't? I love how Miz just played off of that. It was hilarious. Miz says that he spoke for everyone when he says that Cena screwed him over. He then looks at the crowd because the crowd is booing, and they're like, you can't see him? Really? You can't see Cena? He's sitting right there. What the hell? Good stuff. Wanted to know if LA Knight had paid Cena, to basically do whatever was humanly possible to screw Miz out of picking up that win and everything. So when it was all said and done, Miz issuing a challenge to LA Knight for another match. This go round, no special guest referee. And then pretty much, hey, we're really going to see what the real deal is. And he pretty much ended it by giving the skull-crushing finale to an invisible John Cena. Just the most hilarious crap I have seen in recent memory. Love that Miz. Miz has his moments, I tell you. Shayna Baszler, Zoe Stark. Very surprised that Shayna had picked up the win in this matchup, considering I just looked at this and I scratched my head because it's like, wait a minute here. We just saw Zoe. Zoe's been doing pretty damn good for what it's worth, right? Like, she's stringing it together. She's doing good, but, we served her up to Shayna. And, yeah, what was also very surprising, I know I just mentioned one surprise. The other thing that was very surprising in this was Zoe looked pretty damn good in a losing effort. Believe it or not. Like, her stock is still good, believe it or not. And it kind of seems as though WWE is trying to tell us that, hey, look, we're thinking about maybe pairing these two up. Because I thought it was interesting how post-match, Shayna had said something along the lines of, you gave me more of a challenge than Ronda Rousey did. And Zoe was like, hey, thanks. Maybe I could learn more from you than from Trish. She said something along those lines. And so you saw them both give dab to one another. So, you're kind of looking at that. I think Zoe said you gave me a better fight than Trish. I think she said something along those lines. So, maybe these two are going to pair up, and you know what? If they're going to be a new tag team, I'm fine for it. I think these girls would do it extremely well together. By the way, once again, because I actually went back and watched that match, I got to give it up to Trish and Becky Lynch. Becky was nowhere on this show tonight. They beat the living out of each other. I got to give them a lot of props. Seriously, the photos that those girls had shared after their match, both of them had welts all over the frickin' place. I loved it. I freaking loved it. It was a great freaking match. Great outing. One of my, I went into that match with such low expectations. And I came out of that going, wow, they finally found their groove. It took them some months. Obviously they were working a lot in the lab there, but they finally rose to the occasion and they delivered a freaking classic. Very proud. I mean, they got the scars to prove it. So it just, and when I played the match back, I couldn't help but say, wow, these girls really went into this and at one point just said, you know what? Forget about the theatrics. Let's just go ahead and beat the living crap out of each other. Like what's up? And for Trish Stratus, who I have been a fan of for many, many years, just her whole evolution to go from basically this good-looking woman, could command any front cover, could do whatever as far as a modeling career and all that goes. She decides, okay, I'm going to focus on wrestling. And not just let it be a case where, okay, I'm just going to accept this role of being a nice piece of eye candy.
Baby.
Right? She doesn't just go in that direction. She could have easily just rested on her laurels and just said, I'm going to just focus on, just being a nice piece of eye candy. No, she goes, we're going to take it a step further, and I'm going to actually try to get down this whole wrestling. I want to understand this. I want to actually get this down. And this woman is almost 50 years old. She's 47, going on 48. And the type of matches that she was doing, first time evers in her career, especially with what she had did at Payback. You know, it's like, why are you doing this? What do you have to prove? And, you know, you don't have to do X, Y, Z. We've all been in that position. We tell our best friend or a family member, you don't have to, but, you know, that friend or family member, they feel as though they have something that they need to prove to themselves. It's not about pleasing, you know, entertaining everybody else. This is something that deep down inside they want to do for them. And that seems to have been the case for what was happening there with Trish Stratus. Definitely has both women, but particularly Trish Stratus, definitely my utmost respect. Seriously, because that was kick-ass. I went out of my way to watch that match again, and I didn't say it on the post show because I really wanted to make sure, because not for nothing, but while Payback was on, I was also providing live coverage on 401 Mania for Collision. So, you know, obviously I was going to see, you know, the full match for Trish and Becky. But I went out of my way because I had decided, you know, I want to watch the pay-per-view without any distractions. I really want to be able to take it in. I just watched that first match between those girls all over again, and the vibe I had got initially from what I was seeing on Saturday, and now that I've watched it again, but this time uninterrupted, yeah, that's definitely, I don't throw this term out there, but that's definitely a match of the year candidate for me. I sparingly, throughout the whole year, I sparingly throw that out, right down to the point. My list, you're lucky if it is up to 10 matches. You're lucky if it's up to 10 matches. So you could almost say I'm picking one match maybe every month or 2 months or something like that, right? I'll let you guys figure out the math on that one. But yeah, definitely. See, other than that, I think it was a main event, which was the Intercontinental Championship match. Chad Gable taking on Gunther. Again, I tell you guys, I don't throw it out there just all over the place like it's candy, but match of the year candidate, Gunther, Chad Gable. I freaking loved this match. Man, this was so good, and it got the right amount of time as well. This went about 17, maybe 18 minutes. Good googly moogly. Great match. I did not mind the fact that we had 2, maybe 3 commercial breaks in there. I didn't mind that, especially when I think 2 of those commercial breaks, I know one for sure, but I believe it was 2 commercial breaks. We basically had got a picture-in-picture break, so you were able to continue to see all the action. This had to have been the one time where I'm going, let me put my glasses on and let me just get a little bit closer to the TV while there was a picture-in-picture, because I actually want to watch this. This is really, really, these boys put on a freaking clinic. This really, the way this match played out, this really could have gone either way, and they told that story extremely well. You know, you'd be surprised. You had a lot of people that were looking at this and they were thinking, nah, man, Chad Gable is going to get this. Chad is going to pick up the win. Vince McMahon has too much love and respect for the honky tonk man. There's no way that Gunther's going to surpass that record. And you know, I beg to differ. I told those people, I said, look, appreciate the honky tonk man and all that for all it's worth. I said, but this is a whole new different beast now. Like, nah, you gotta crush that record. You don't do all of this just to, you go ahead and they gave Gunther the nod. They gave him the freaking nod. And all I could do was just nod my head in approval going, yeah, because he's the mother effing man. Give it to him, right? This really could have gone either way. Solid main event match to, honestly, an overall fantastic episode of Monday Night Raw. You did so much with that main event match as well. First of all, you proved to any naysayers that as far as Chad Gable main event goes, he's definitely worthy of being in that position. If there was any doubt about this guy, could he really rise to the occasion and all this other stuff, Chad Gable was able to do his best tonight. This was his best outing yet as far as a singles match goes. He, as far as I was concerned tonight with his performance, silenced the critics. And the fact that he had such a willing and able dance partner in Gunther, really helped silence those naysayers, I personally say, as well. Chad Gable, definitely a future main eventer. Not just for your Raws, but definitely as far as pay-per-views go and everything. He's going to get there. And, he's still relatively young. He is still a relatively young man. So the best is yet to come. That's my whole point. The best is yet to come. That is another one that you're really going to have to, you just see what's going on with him and his career, and you're reminded so much about Kurt Angle. You're reminded so much about Kurt Angle, but at the same time, you're also reminded, hey, we saw a lot of dark days there for Kurt Angle. Let's hope that Chad Gable is very smart and does his very best to make sure he does not make those same mistakes. And, hey, I don't know Chad Gable. You don't know Chad Gable, but just the aura, just the vibe that you kind of get, you just feel as though, he seems a little bit too smart for that. And, with those young kids, beautiful wife that were in attendance tonight, he's not going to jeopardize. By the way, that Kurt Angle documentary, I have not seen that yet. I was hoping I could get around to watching it sometime on Monday, but I was caught up in study, so I sadly was not able to watch it. I'll definitely check it out, though, between now and when I rejoin you guys on Wednesday, and I'll give you guys my full review of it by then. But, for a Labor Day holiday edition of Monday Night Raw, surprisingly, a very good episode. You had some solid in-ring action throughout the 3 hours. It did feel a little dragging at some points. I will admit that. I definitely will admit that. But this was good. This was good for what it was worth. If there was really one reason as far as a strong sales pitch for those of you that got Raw on the DVR and you're debating whether or not you should go out of your way to check out the episode, I would say, if anything, at least make it be your business to check out Chad Gable and Gunther. Check that match out for what it's worth. That way you'll get why the buzz is out there about these two respected men for what it's worth. But yeah, check that out. And that is WWE Raw. Got that in the books. Let me see what's going on here. I'm checking out the X. What's this about? Hang on here. I might read this comment on air. I just need to get caught up to speed on what's going on here. That's the second time this year that someone became a borderline top guy, definitely a star, in a losing effort. Damian Priest in the Bad Bunny match was the other. This is in regards to what I had said about the main event match being one of my match of the year candidates for sure. I could see that, Andrew. I can kind of. I gotta go back and actually watch that match now that you had mentioned that, because I'm kind of like a little bit on the fence now about people were really saying that. I gotta go back and check that out as far as people saying that. As far as other little tidbits of news that we can get into, because right now we're at about the hour and 8-minute mark. I'm just seeing, I think we pretty much have went through all the other stuff that I had thought of just off the top of my head, because it's kind of been a relatively quiet news day. One other thing had came out from that all-out media scrum. Jack Perry and his whole status with the company and everything. Tony Khan did confirm during the media scrum that Jungle Boy Jack Perry has been suspended indefinitely. He said, and I quote, "He's been suspended indefinitely We've suspended everybody in that investigation. By the way, what investigation? I'm just trying to understand, because if allegedly Tony Khan was right there and he saw everything that had transpired and a monitor had fell on his lap or whatever, I think this is just to cover your butt from a legal standpoint when it's all said and done. But anyway, we suspended everybody in that investigation and took further action after that based on what happened and came out of the investigation. We suspended Jack as a participant in an incident backstage, and Jack hasn't been around. That's all I can say about it. At the time, we did suspend him, and he hasn't been at AEW since AEW All In. So that's where we are right now in regards to Jungle Boy Jack Perry. For some people, they look at what went down with CM Punk, just kind of going back to that, and some look at that as a third strike, some a fourth, some a fifth. I know we got the stuff that's floating around out there about William Regal. Look, my 2 cents on that from a distance. If you had CM Punk, here's what's really messed up about that whole situation. If you had CM Punk, and in this case what he was doing was he was trying to stick up for the new boss and Tony Khan. He was trying to stick up for the new company in AEW and say, hey, William Regal, I don't trust you, man. I know you're here to spy on us. So, I'm not going to shake your hand, right? Because, I'm sure you guys have seen the report floating around out there, right? So, just kind of following up on that, if you got CM Punk saying, yo, man, I'm calling foul. There's no way you're over here and you're going to be... No, I'm calling bull. And it technically turns out that CM Punk was right, because a handful of months later, Regal somehow figures out a way to get out of his AEW contract to go back to WWE with the excuse, or whatever you want to call it, truth, whatever you want to call it. Oh, my son's over in WWE and I'm at this particular stage in my life, and he was coming to Tony Khan during a very delicate mental state and time in his life, because there was a lot that was going on. We don't need to go over the whole spill, but for those of you that don't know about some of that, it's definitely worth going out of your way to read up on and everything. You could make an argument that no, CM Punk was kind of right here. Well, so it's interesting how we have certain wrestling outlets that's trying to spin this whole backstage thing, and I think it might have been the guys at Fightful. I want to give credit where credit is due, but basically it was a case where, in regards to that whole William Regal, CM Punk little spat, that's not as... It wasn't as... what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, it's exaggerated. It wasn't as a big of a deal as some people were making it out to be and everything. Matter of fact, I have that actual report that was floating around here. Yeah, it's just hilarious. Because I remember this, and I was just going... I heard little whispers of that, but it was kind of like, whatever. Right? It's kind of like, whatever. But, let me give credit where credit is due here. Let me see here. Yeah, it was reported that Punk and William Regal allegedly had a negative interaction in AEW last year, with Punk getting in Regal's face. Incident reportedly happened on the night Regal debuted, with Punk telling Regal he didn't trust him because he was a stooge for Triple H. So, you're kind of looking at that, and if you're a Punk hater, that's kind of one of those deals where, do you really want to bring that up? Because that's somewhat painting CM Punk in a positive light for how pro AEW he was trying to be and everything. And right, that's kind of one of those, do you just sweep that under the rug and pretend that, right, you just keep it moving along? Or do you mention that, and thus at the same time you're essentially giving Punk some type of cred? Because if you're Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer, you've spent all this time and energy trying to paint Punk in a certain light, and now you right? So it's comical. It's comical when it's all said and done. Look here, though. We've gone about an hour, 13 minutes. I'm going to stick a fork in it and call it DONE, done. So, look, quick programming notes. Wednesday, September 6, 2023, after Dynamite goes off the air, I'll be back with you guys. We'll talk Dynamite Fallout. We'll get into some hopefully we'll have a lot more fun news that we can get into, and not something that's so distracting. But I mean, look, if it's got you talking, we'll definitely talk about it here on the show and everything. I know by then I will have seen the Kurt Angle documentary. I'd go a lot longer on the show, interact with you guys, because I love interacting with you guys and everything, but my studies come first, and my classes are loaded up this semester, so my rest is very, 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 very important. So I actually have at least about an hour to do before I call it a night. And part of it is actually mixing down this audio that you guys are checking out right now. So I want to get this out and out there live and publish for quick downloads and all that, quick as possible and all that. But Wednesday we'll be able to go just a little bit longer, since we'll be able to come on at an earlier time and all of that. So do join me for that. That's going to be a nice, fun show. And in the meantime, look here. Rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads. They are all over the place. Great clips that we got up on the YouTube channel. Matter of fact, we've got a couple of clips that's scheduled to go live on the YouTube channel later today. So school, work, enjoying that lunch break, you'll be able to check out some clips. If you haven't been on top of the recent shows, you can get at me on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Facebook. Just search the RCWR Show. And until next go round, wishing all of you all to be safe, and most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Adios, y'all. Take care.